Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures of Pixie Land. My name's Amy, and I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the NIV. We're in the book of Numbers. We're in chapter 35, which takes us to verse 34. Okay. So, towns for the Levites. Because in the previous video, we talked about all the rest of the tribes of Israel except the Levites. On the plains of Moab, by the Jordan, across from the Jericho, again, the Hebrew Jordan of Jericho, ancient and possibly an ancient name for the Jordan River. The Lord said to Moses, "Command the Israelites to give the Levites towns to live in from the inheritance the Israelites will possess. Give them pasture lands around the towns. Then they will have towns to live in and pasture lands for their cattle, flock, and all the other livestock." Now, there's multiple reasons for this. Because one, God said, set up manslaughter safety zones in those towns so you could run to there, which we'll get to in the next thing. But also, it would mean that if you were a person who was, practicing this religion, once everything is all broken up, you're going to need Levites in your area, in your overall area where all your people live, to be able to do the burnt sacrifices, to be able to sanctify things, to be able to check for all this stuff. I mean, excuse me, they can't, it's too far to travel to get something checked out like that. You're going to need people around them. So, of course, they're going to need Levites in their town in order to be able to, serve as the religious leaders in their area without making them go very far. The pasture lands around the towns that you give the Levites will extend out 1,500 feet from the town wall. Hebrew, that's about 1,000 cubits or 450 meters. Outside the town, measure 3,000 feet. Okay. B, that is about 2,000 cubits or 900 meters. On the east side, 3,000 on the south side, 3,000 on the west side, and 3,000 on the north, with the town in the center. They will have this area as pasture land for the towns. Because if they're going to be doing all these burnt offerings, they're going to have sheep and goats and bulls and, whatever. So, and then that means they have to have a place to feed those animals. And remember, they're existing in service to the rest of the community. They don't get to do other things to earn money or any of the rest of that. Cities of refuge. 6 of the towns you give the Levites will be cities of refuge, to which a person who has killed someone may flee. In addition, give them 42 other towns. In all, you must give the Levites 48 towns, together with their pasture lands. The towns that you give the Levites from the land of the Israelites possess are to be given in proportion to the inheritance of each tribe. Take many towns from a tribe that has many, but few from one that has few. So you only need so many religious officiants per person capita kind of thing. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you cross the Jordan into Canaan, select some towns to be your cities of refuge, to which a person who has killed someone accidentally may flee. They will be places of refuge from the avenger, so that the person accused of murder may not die before he stands trial before the assembly." Okay, so they have rules of conduct around them. Right? These 6 towns will be your cities of refuge. So that everybody knows that's where they're supposed to go. Give 3 on this side of the Jordan, and 3 in Canaan, a city of refuge. These 6 towns will be places of refuge for the Israelites, aliens, and any other peoples living among them. So you can't exclude people from it. So that anyone who has killed another accidentally can flee from there. If a man strikes someone with an iron object so that he dies, he is a murderer. The murderer shall be put to death. Or if anyone has a stone in his hand that could kill, and he strikes someone so that he dies, he is a murderer. So he's like, yeah, and we learned from Cain and Abel too. The murderer shall be put to death. Or if anyone has a wooden object in his hand that could kill, and he hits someone so that he dies, he is a murderer. The murderer shall be put to death. The avenger of blood shall put the murderer to death when he meets him. He shall be put to death. If anyone with malice afterthought shoves another or throws something at him intentionally so that he dies, or in hostility he hits him with a fist so that he dies, that person shall be put to death. He is a murderer. This is very, very specific. But, you know, this definition of murderer still kind of stands today, unless you've got self-defense going on. And they're not leaving room for self-defense. They're talking about, rage. The avenger of blood shall put the murderer to death when he meets him. But if without hostility someone suddenly shoves another or throws something at him unintentionally, or without seeing him, drops a stone on him that could kill him, and he dies, then since he was not his enemy and did not intend him harm, the assembly must judge between him and the avenger of blood according to these regulations. So the very specific set of rules. If whatever that was going on happened and it was truly unintentional, it's not murder. It might be manslaughter, but it's not murder, which, again, is still a kind of, nuanced difference that we have in our laws in America here still today. It's not really, I'm not a lawyer, so you should get more specific nuances from them, but that's generally my understanding between the two charges. The assembly must protect the one accused of murder from the avenger of blood and send him back to the city of refuge to which he fled. He must stay there until the death of the high priest who was anointed with the holy oil. So they have to go to the refuge city and they can't really leave. But if the accused ever goes outside the limits of the city of the refuge to which he has fled, and the avenger of blood finds him outside the city, the avenger of blood may kill the accused without being guilty of murder. Ooh. Okay. I don't necessarily know that I agree with that, but that was the rule. The accused must stay in his city of refuge until the death of the high priest. Only after the death of the high priest may he return to his own property. These are to be legal requirements for you throughout the generations to come wherever you live. Anyone who kills a person is to be put to death as a murderer only on the testimony of witnesses. Oh. But no one is to be put to death on the testimony of only one witness. Okay? Do not accept a ransom for the life of a murderer who deserves to die. He must surely be put to death. Do not accept a ransom for anyone who has fled to a city of refuge, and so allow him to go back and live in his own land before the death of the high priest. Okay? Do not pollute the land where you are. Ooh, I like that. Because, I'm always up to let's pick up the trash and all that kind of. Do not pollute the land where you are. Bloodshed pollutes the land. An atonement cannot be made for the land on which blood has been shed. Okay, so now, because you remember this goes back. He knew that that murder happened between Cain and Abel because blood was soaking into the ground. He, God on high, knew because he said, your brother, why is your brother's blood on the ground? Like, what have you done? Bloodshed pollutes the land, and atonement cannot be made for the land on which blood has been shed, except by the blood of the one who shed it. Do not defile the land where you live in, and where I dwell, for I, the Lord, dwell among the Israelites. Okay, so it can only be the one who has committed murder and having their blood on the land to make an atonement for the bloodshed that polluted the land. So falsely accusing people of murder would not do that. And I can only imagine. But then I don't really run around accusing people of murder. Thank goodness I'm not in any situations where I would have to be around any murder situations. I mean, I know I watch a lot of those shows, but I'm just glad that those don't ever become my reality because I would not want that. Until the next video, friends.